Good afternoon, and welcome to another conversation on the Black Male Impact. Today's series will be Transformation through Intentional Impact. My name is Dr. Richard A. Cross, and we have as guest today Mr. Andre Allen. Mr. Allen, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. But before we get into the conversation today, for those who are here with us, I'll ask you please share the link with your connections because I can guarantee you you will learn something today. You will be inspired, you will be empowered. And that's what this platform is about. You know, the Black Male Impact is where positive changes are inspired. And I can guarantee you that Mr. Allen will share something that will benefit you. And if it doesn't benefit you, it will benefit someone you are close to. So go ahead and please share this link with someone or the people you're connected with. So just to give you a little bit of background on Andre Allen, Mr. Allen. He's part of mentoring. He is an advocate for helping young people, youth. He's also, and that which is through Boys and Girls Club, and he's advocate for men's health, which is really important because one thing with us as men, we sometimes neglect our health. So having someone who really have a passion to remind us is important, because sometimes we forget how important our health is. And he's also involved in health and fitness, which most of you may not know. He was a football player, and I don't know if we'll get to talk about his athletic prowess and the things that he have done and accomplished as an athlete. But we'll see where the conversation go today. But before I even start asking the questions, I'll just ask Mr. Allen to share more about himself, so you can get an understanding of who he is and the things that he's doing that I didn't mention before we start the conversation today. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate Dr. Cross, inviting me in to share and help someone, for a little nugget to help them get to that, extra step in this thing called life. Who am I? Andre Allen. I am currently in Iowa, yeah, and via Mississippi, Itta Bena, Mississippi, a little bitty place down south, Mississippi Valley State. I always reference Jerry Rice. If you know where Jerry Rice went to college at, that's where I'm from, right in the backyard. I moved to Iowa when I was 12 and went to University of Northern Iowa, attained my accounting and coaching degree in 4 years. Then went on to play professional football. Came back and got another degree in network engineering, and went and got another degree and a BA and MBA in information technology management. So I, wanted to show my children, my three boys. AJ is 29, Trevor will be 28, and Aiden will be 21 this year, and to show them that there's more to life than just football. And now I'm on, a bunch of boards helping kids in the community, locally and nationally, as well as doing health things. Trainer. I do IT. Been doing IT for the past 20 years, as well as getting out into the community and trying to help us as Black men to understand what prostate cancer, the impact it has on us, and one in every four Black male tend to perish and leave this earth way too early with prostate cancer. And so the whole thing that I'm doing is trying to get awareness out now via that to help us understand the value of going to the doctor. My father who I did not know had prostate cancer. And it was 3 years or 3 to 4 years ago. I'm sitting there and get a phone call, and it's my father's wife. And she says that your father's out of surgery and he's doing well. Out of surgery for what? Well, he had prostate cancer, and normally when you catch prostate cancer early enough, you can go in and have the surgery to relieve that, and you can live a longer, prosperous life. And so, trying to get us to understand that we do have value to add in this thing called life by getting ourselves checked and getting that pH test done to make sure that we're getting tested properly. Now I do IT work. I do remote majority of the time, program management, project management, IT business, and as well as going out into the communities with my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, to help young men in the communities, through via education. And so now, I'm in Iowa, as I said previously, and just trying to continuously to strive to do my piece and my part to be able to help young men to understand that you do have a chance, and most of them just want to hear that positiveness and that role model coming from individuals like us, to be able to teach and guide them on how the life skills are that it takes, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to run or bump into an issue that occurs out here in this world. And so it's just a lot of things that they have to deal with, from being in single parent homes, been in with guardianship, grandma, aunties, aunts, brothers, sisters, whatever it may be, different guardianships, just giving them, that hope that they're going to be able to, get someplace and do some things to make themselves and their lives a little bit more productive.
And that's important as you remind us, to make sure we're taking care of our health. And just as you shared, that your father, he had prostate cancer. No one really knew he had it, and it's one thing that's been ingrained in us is not to check on our health, which is not a positive thing, but it is part of our conditioning,
Hmm.
not to really pay attention to our health. So I'm glad you bring that to the forefront early in the conversation. Because as we go through, hopefully we can get to talk more about the importance of taking care of our health, especially if we want to take care of our family, and even if we want to achieve our own goals. Because it's one thing to get to a point where you put in the work, achieve the goal, but you're not able to enjoy it,
That's right.
because you don't have the health to enjoy it.
That's correct.
So man, it is so important, that we do. So we're going to talk about various topics today, and
Hmm.
these are things that you have shared. I've seen where you have help people within your community,
Hmm.
because I follow the work that you're doing and the reminders that you shared with us, the community. So, what I want to ask today, which is on leadership, to start off the question, what does authentic leadership look like for Black men, and how can we embrace it in our daily lives?
That's a very important and impactful question. Leadership, what is it? I think we have to be able to be good followers, um, and following the right people, and following the right role models. You look at a lot of athletes out in the industry, because that's one thing that I, became real familiar with was, athletes, and role models within athletics. So that was my clutch, was grab a hold and gravitating more towards the athletes as a role model based on coming from Mississippi and not understanding that whole avenue of what that authentic leader looked like. And it took until later in life to learn, being around people that are true and honest and real with you, to be able to break things down, because you're not going to be in the positive all the time. You're going to be in the negative sometimes, and you got to make sure that that person is not just feeding you things that are not going to truly just help you to grow in life, but it also got to watch and be careful because a lot of times they're doing things to help themselves, not only just to help you. And so I think with us, we have to understand how to be able to decipher, discern, what it is that we're being fed that is either true or not true.
I think that is important, as you mentioned. When we talk about leaders, or um, once leadership comes in, it's the person who is out there going and leading. But you bring up a valid point that leaders still have to be good followers, because we have to learn from individuals who paved the way, who we can understand what needs to be done from, because before we even get into the position, we don't want to get there and don't understand what needs to be done.
That's correct.
So, as they always said, a good leader was once a good follower. They understand and learn from individuals that display the characteristics
Hmm.
that it takes to be an authentic leader. And I think for us as Black men, it's important because there are things that we don't know, because we may not have born in an environment where we have the blueprint.
Hmm.
So to learn sometimes before we get into those roles and those positions, we can find people who we can model. And as you mentioned, as an athlete, I think athletes have a advantage, I would say, because especially being that you make it to the professional level,
Hmm.
it takes a different level of discipline and commitment to make it into that position. Well, professional athletes, because it doesn't matter how great you are, it takes something else.
Hmm.
And for you to be in that environment and to learn from those who are ahead of you, and the same thing for leadership in schools, the same thing for leadership in organizations. Those who are ahead may have done something right to get there.
Hmm.
So it's important that we look and watch and learn from those who are displaying the right things, because as you mentioned, not everybody will display good character or characteristics, even though they're in leadership roles and leadership positions. So I'm really glad that you bring that up, because as Black men and going forward and want to make a difference, we not only take the lead, but also learn from individuals who may be in front of us. So, my next question to you, still on leadership: how can we empower other Black men to step into leadership roles within their communities? I know you mentioned that in the beginning. That is something that you're doing.
Well, it to me is vital. You look at you look at the history, and I like to always read books on us as Black men, especially where we come from, who are we, and we are truly kings. We are truly leaders. A lot of us just don't have that self confidence within us to bring out that king, to bring out that leadership, to know and understand how to lead, and that is getting deep into that soul search of each individual male to be able to understand, what's your source. And so, you got your earthly father that you may or may not know, but you got a heavenly father that is there to help you and guide you through all those different things. And so, therefore, to me, you have to get that source from above and at earthly parallel. Basically, it kind of goes into a cross, to be honest with you, because you got that vertical and you got that horizontal to be able to assist you, to be able to teach you those traits and those tools and those things you need to understand what it takes to be a man and to be a leader in this thing called earth. Because everybody's watching us. Look at myself as an athlete. All the kids, around watch me wearing the purple shoes at University of Northern Iowa, and they wanted to mimic that. They mimic those things that you did. They mimic the things you taught them, and so therefore, when you go out there, you are a leader. You are a mentor to these young men and these young ladies that are watching us to see what we do and how we do it and what we say and when we say it. And so, therefore, they learn how to follow, to pick up those traits, to be able to help them, to guide them in their thing called life.
And man, that is so important. To know who we are and know what source to connect to. Because again, we need the guidance,
Mhm.
we need the support, and we need a blueprint,
Mhm.
to become or to remember, who we are, as you mentioned, which we can go a bit on this topic of reading, for us as black men, because you mentioned that you like to read history, you like to read about the things that we have done and what we have accomplished. But within our community as black men, that's one thing, have been a stigma, where we don't read a lot.
Mhm.
How would you encourage, those who are not doing it as black men, and how important it is? What would you say, to these black men? Because the answers are there.
Yes.
What? Yeah.
Yes. To be honest with you, I wasn't a big reader growing up. I was um, I was a kid. I just read enough to get by, and it wasn't until I actually truly got to college and actually started looking around at the people and the students around me, and the ones that picked up on things a lot quicker were the ones who actually read the assignment. So
Wow.
there's a correlation between knowledge and understanding the work. And so if you actually read it, understand it, comprehend it, more times than not, you'll be able to go and take the exam and do better than the person who did not understand or comprehend what they had read. And so that was a big aha moment for me in college. Was to get a book. And if you look at all the successful people in this world, not just the athletes, not just the Fortune 500 people, but what they do have a connection, a correlation between those is they read and they like to read. I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day. I don't care if it's 10 pages a day. Start small. Pick up a book. I mean, now I got books all over, the house. Is get a book, 10 minutes a day. And if you look at the literacy
Yeah.
percentage of from adults, how many adults in 2025 are on a third, fourth grade reading level is would just blow your mind, to be honest with you. And so we have to put an emphasis on reading. We see what they're doing with the DOE. We see what they want to do in our communities that impact the DOE not getting those funds. We see what they're trying to do to move kids to more of the charter and private schools. Well, if our kids, our young men and young women in our communities cannot read, they won't get accepted into those schools. Then what?
Correct.
Then what's going to happen? They're going to funnel them into the private sector, which is into the jail and the prison system.
Correct.
We can't have that. We have to ensure that we teach our kids how to read and the importance of reading.
Man, that is so important. And I appreciate you sharing that reminder, because, as you mentioned, that you have become an avid reader. I say, you know what, let's dive into that a little bit more, because with the time we're in, reading is important. And just as yourself,
Mhm.
I didn't really start reading books per se. I was in college, I was doing very well academically, but I wasn't, just taking up a book and read. And I tell you, when I read this book the first time, and read it to the end, I was like, man, I felt so good. I was like, man, you know what? This is something that, we need to practice. But again, for some of us, we have been taking on the stigma that
Yeah.
as men, we don't read. Men don't read. But I think it was late on my journey, I heard a phrase: if you want to hide something, maybe it was when I started reading, like reading, really, reading a lot. If you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. And I said, man, they're going to be crazy. I'm going to find everything that's out there that I need to find. And as adults, even those who go to college and do exceptionally well in college, may have never taken up a book
That's
after college.
right.
And the answers we need, they're in the book. But reading, as you mentioned, it doesn't only give us knowledge, it makes us confident,
Yes.
because the more knowledgeable I become, I realize that I'll show up in spaces,
Mhm.
and be unapologetic, because now I'm not just there, I know something.
That's correct.
So it's important. So I'm really glad that you go there with the conversation, because it's important. If we're going to create change, we're going to need the knowledge.
Well, I tell my kids, I tell young men and women when I do speaking engagements, I go, I've had a very, very good life. And I say, there are things that the world can take away from me. You could take stuff, you could take the material things away from me. You could take my car, you could take my house, you could take football, you could take all of that TV, you take all the things you want to take away from me. But what you cannot take from me is what I put in between these two ears,
That's right.
period. And I will have that
Mhm.
forever. And so I'm constantly, our brains are like computer chips. The
Yeah.
more information we put in, the good information we put in, guess what? The good information that comes out. So therefore,
Correct.
continuously putting things in this brain of mine, you continuously to read, you continuously just pick a book, just one book. If it's just one book, get one book and read that 10, 15, 20 minutes, every day. Just pick it up, read it. And you will be surprised when you're done with that book, just the feeling of accomplishment of completing that book and just doing something for yourself.
Correct.
And you can be able to recite that book for the rest of your life because you have that knowledge of hearing that computer chip that's not going anywhere. And you think when you get older, even as an older person, it helps to keep your brain constantly moving and constantly thinking, Alzheimer's and all those different things. You have a book that will always be there in your brain. You'll be able to think and process and speak and do things because of reading.
Oh yeah, man. It is so important, as you mentioned. With Alzheimer's and stuff like that. A lot of people, old people, they constantly do the puzzles, to keep their brain, fired up, keep their brain intact and stuff like that. But man, you couldn't couldn't stress it any more about reading and the importance. But we're still on leadership, but that was a good segue to talk about and to bring to the forefront as a reminder for all of us, especially if we want to challenge. It's one thing to talk about the things, but we need
Yes.
to know what's happening so we can really counter what's happening, not just with talking, but with knowledge, to make sure we are addressing the right thing. My next question to you, which is still on leadership: what leadership qualities are essential for addressing systemic barriers and creating sustainable change?
I think, honestly, within leadership, us as Black men, we already have a stigma as it is. And to me, I already feel that we have it's a double-edged sword when we go into organizations or doing businesses, going into, getting a loan. We always got to do better. We always got to do more to get ourselves to that next level. And so going in knowing you can't just do what's required, you got to do more than what's required. And even within leadership, we always got to be better. We don't get the opportunity to fail forward. We
Yeah.
fell backwards. And so we don't get those opportunities when we go into, these big, huge leadership roles that we have in companies and business. We can't just fail. We can't go in the bank with, two, three, four, five bankruptcies. They won't even look at our applications. There are just certain things that us as Black men, we just have to understand that we can't fail forward. We fell backwards. And so how we do that, we can't just sit there. We always got to do better within leadership. We always got to look down and help our young Black men. So us that are in these positions, we're able to help our young people to get up to the levels that we're at. Because I always say it takes 5 years. 5 years, you got to have goal plans every 5 years. What are you going to be doing in 5 years? Well, me personally, I want to make sure that I teach and train the next generation of people to be able to take my job in 5 years, because that's going to keep me up on my skill sets in the leadership role to be able to ensure that I'm getting things done that needs to get done. So therefore, you have to make sure that you are always got your plan, because you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. You don't have a purpose, you're not going to make it. And so, therefore, you got to have those things intact to be able to know where you're going, because you're always going to fall if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, so it's preparation and planning and execution as leaders. And that means we have to have a vision, know where we want to go individually and maybe as a collective. Knowing where we want to go is really, really important. So just to kind of shift gear a little bit from leadership to social impact, as you mentioned, that is one thing that you do in the community.
Hmm.
You help young people. You become a part of different organizations to share your knowledge and skill set with those organizations. So, my question to you from social impact: what areas in our communities require the most attention for creating lasting social impact? I know you mentioned DOE and Department of Education, but from your perspective and maybe from your immediate community or outside of your community,
Hmm.
what areas in our communities require the most attention for creating lasting social impact?
Well, I think we have to know who we are. Um, First of all, most of us, we are taught a watered down version of our own history. So we go into these communities where we're expecting to be accepted. But if we don't even know who we are, when we go into those communities, it's going to be even harder to be able to adjust who we are because we don't know who and where we come from. And so therefore there's a need and a knack to be able to adapt, go in, dig into who you are as a person. Where do you come from? What are your morals and values before you go into that other environment? Because once you go into that other environment, you're going to lose who you are if you don't know have a plan and a purpose from where you come from. And so, therefore, it's having that clear understanding of who Andre Allen is and where does Andre Allen want to go to be able to make himself, a leader. My three boys, they are, the oldest is married, got my first granddaughter. Then they got my second oldest gets married this June, 2 days after his birthday, and then my youngest will be 21 in August. And so, I look at them and I say, what is it that I needed to do as they were growing up to be productive citizens, productive leaders in this world. And today they're just flourishing, as young men. And so we have to have that solid foundation. They have to know who they're from because I know me, I didn't get that. And so it was imperative that once I had kids that I showed them and they're three boys too, and they're African American boys. And so therefore no matter where you go, you're going to be an African American young man. So if you don't know who you are and where you come from and what you believe in, you're going to fall for anything.
That is so true. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. But knowing who you are is important because we're not going to always be in the environment that we want or the environment that will be to our advantage every time. But when
Hmm.
you know who you are,
Hmm.
you will not change or you will not just act out just
Right.
because of that's what the environment requires of you or tempts you to do. So knowing who we are is really important, so we don't, just fall for anything
Hmm.
because there are a lot of distractions out there.
Hmm.
And if we're not careful, we will fall for the distractions. And some of those distractions are not so favorable
That's right.
where you can overcome it just by go to sleep and wake up the next day. Some of those distractions, you end up going down a road that you may find it very difficult to recover from. But as you stated, one of the things that we need to do to create lasting change is start with us.
Yes.
What we're going to do and how important it is for us to be the role model,
Yes.
not just for our kids, but those who are watching us. But immediately, our family is important because we have to display characteristics
Yes.
that they can model. As you mentioned, it's imperative that we lead by example. So, my next question to you is how can we collaborate effectively to amplify our efforts and reach more people?
Great question. Me personally, I think us black males that are in our atmosphere like this, you, me, all the other men that have platforms, to have those discussions and taking these platforms and working together as a unit. Because if you notice, out of every culture of people, which one doesn't actually come together and gel as much? It's the black community. And I
Yeah.
think we can learn something from other communities by us coming together, syncing up on a national level, and putting our plan together there and pushing that down to the states like what they do. You know,
Correct.
every other nationality has done that. We've done this, but they burned it down from the past. But by us coming together and them seeing us as a nucleus, that we're strong and we're able to go out and make an impact in our communities, because that's what they don't see. They don't
Correct.
see us coming together as a unit, as a one, as black men, as a powerful force that we are, as the kings that we are, to go out into our communities and save our people ourselves. Because ain't nobody coming to save us. We're gonna have to do it ourselves.
Well, that is so true. And as you mentioned, that there are other groups out there who are doing it, who we can learn from. And I think that's what's missing from our community,
Hmm.
because we are creative, we are resourceful, we
Hmm.
are determined, we
Yes.
are resilient.
Yes.
We All the things that is needed are needed
Hmm.
to be successful, to achieve at the highest level. We have it. We have demonstrated it.
Yes.
But we are not working together as much as we should,
That's correct.
because also that is part of the conditioning.
Hmm.
That's what stops us. We develop this distrust with each other, or we don't. It's like we see each other more so as competition,
Hmm.
which we must see the strengths
Hmm.
in others and say, how can I fit into what they're doing, and how can I exercise my strength? How can I contribute to the goal that needs to be accomplished? Because somebody is going to get to achieve success before others, and not to say we are just there, so they can be successful, so we can get something from it. But we have to develop that kind of mindset where I'm going to contribute to something that I see can make a difference, and
Hmm.
this is what I bring to the table, more than what. Let me stay over here and watch what they are doing over there,
Hmm.
and if it works, it works. If it don't, I'm going to be over here doing what I'm doing.
Hmm.
But you bring up a valid point where no one is going to come to save us, but yet we have the ability and the skill set
Hmm.
to achieve
Hmm.
what is more than possible.
Hmm.
We can learn from others, and I think now more than ever, we need to take on that mindset. To shift from just being individual to a more collective approach to achieving goals. And that will make us, as you said, a more powerful force. But
Yes.
not only a powerful force, the organizations out there or the different entities, will take us a bit more serious,
Hmm.
because they know that, man, these people going to work together. So if they need support to build something, I know they will get the support, so their vision can continue to grow, continue to advance. Because
Hmm.
sometimes we don't get, especially like loans and stuff like that,
Right.
because we may not have demonstrated that we're going to get the support from our own people.
That's
When
correct.
we look at another group that we see that they support each, it is so visible. So if they go to the bank, just for an example, and say, we want to start this business, and I can guarantee you that my people gonna support my vision, they can't deny it because it
Yes.
is already obvious. And that is one thing that we have to make obvious. And I
Yes.
think we will break through so many barriers unity will change a lot
Yes.
when it comes to us because we have everything else.
Yes.
The world watch us, the world model us, the world, just do everything. We are the trendsetters,
That's correct.
but we just don't work together as
That's
well as
correct.
we are capable of working together to break some of these barriers to achieve what is possible and change the dynamics for the next generation. But I'm going to, continue with a question. Hopefully we come back here, but if not, we still have a lot more questions, maybe more questions than time.
That's right.
Uh, let's
Mhm.
continue with the question. Just as we're talking about economic and funding and the bank and loans, what role does economic empowerment play in driving meaningful social change?
Oh my goodness, it is essential. I look at myself from growing up from Mississippi. I got into accounting in eighth grade. Um, and I remember my math teacher saying to me, Mr. Compton, saying to me, you need to be an accountant. And I was like, accountant? What's that? I had no idea, but I knew I liked numbers.
Yeah,
And if you really think about it, you look at our communities where they are into the illegal aspects of, you know, contraband. You know how great of businessmen these men are that are doing that? You talk to some of these individual men and the knowledge that they have to be able to run those businesses illegally on the street. And just think if we had those same men changing their mindset to run their own businesses legally, what they can accomplish, what they could do, what how they can change the generation curses within their families to help their families and their communities. Bring in businesses. You look at our communities, there's not one thing that has not been built that we have not done. There's not one thing that has not we have not gone through in this country that we have not done first. So
correct.
there are things we have the aptitude, we have the nature of being able to build that leadership, that quality, that base that we need to keep just that funnel going over and over and over again. We just need to come together as unity amongst us as a community, as a brotherhood, and to be able to build that nucleus that we know we got the knowledge, we got all this. I mean, look how educated we are now and where we come from to be able to take that knowledge that we have base to be able to train the next generation and the next generation to be able to go out and be leaders, to be able to help our communities, help their families, help the generations that are coming after them and after us. That
Man,
is
that is important, and I just want to acknowledge, David Thornton shared. He stated in the comment area, what you had said, because ain't nobody coming to save us. We have to do it ourselves. So he was just agreeing with a point that you have made, and how important it is, for us to realize that we have to do the work that's going to change our lives, and not just our lives, but the lives of the next generation.
yes,
Because I strongly believe the things that we are dealing with today, the next generation should not be dealing with all of the same things. They may have some of the same things to change, to fix, but we should be very, very intentional
yes.
about what we are preparing for the next generation. Because I was thinking recently where I was saying, we talk about all the leaders before. We talk about, the Malcolm X, the Frederick Douglass, and
Mhm,
all those people before, that have demonstrated how and what it takes to make a difference.
mhm.
Edgar Evers, all those people. But if we constantly only stand on their shoulders, then no one is going to stand on our shoulders. We should be doing things so when the next generation stand on our shoulders, they see further. They don't have to go back 50, 60, 70, 80 years
Hmm. Hmm.
to stand on those people's shoulder. Nothing is wrong with the leaders before, but we need to be the type of leaders that they can stand on our shoulders and stand confidently, knowing that we have done something intentional.
Right.
We may not be as Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or Marcus Garvey or Edgar Everett or
Hmm.
all those other people that have done their fair share. But I think we need to develop those shoulders, strong
Right.
shoulders,
Right.
so the next generation, will have someone to shoulders to stand on. And I
Yeah.
just want to acknowledge, Dr. Sims with what he said. But his comment is very very long. But I'm just going to read a part of it. Um, um, which he shared right here. As Black men in this work, I know we can do more if we come together.
Hmm.
There's so much power in Black men from different fields: education, justice, mental health, tech, the arts, linking up with a shared purpose. Imagine a network where we host monthly meetups. Man, this is so powerful. This is so important.
It's a lot of things.
I'll be definitely, reaching out to Dr. Sims. I know I've spoke to him sometime in the past.
Hmm.
Maybe this message is just timely for me to follow up with, Dr. Sims. So I just stated here. So now I have to make sure I do
Yes.
follow up. But just to what you have said, it's important, that we work together. So it's just the same thing that he's saying, and how important it is for us to work together if we're going to create a change that is needed. So you're about to say something?
No, me, I was just going to say, I mean, just look at all this knowledge.
Yeah.
Look at all the influential backings that we have, that we, if we just pulled all that brain power, that nucleus together, and work together as a unit, as Black men, and being the kings that we are, and letting the world know, letting our communities know that we are serious about this impacting into our communities, because we've come too long, we've come too far to go back to where they want us to go to. It's time for action. It's time for us to do what is right, and that's for us to come together like we need to, like our ancestors worked to do, and make this thing happen for the rest.
It is. And just another point Dr. Sims made. In order to do that, I think we need to create exposure
Hmm.
to those opportunities and destigmatize it as acting white. And that's one thing,
Hmm.
and maybe that's one of the things why, as Black men, we don't want to read and show up as being smart, because some may not want to say, "Oh man, you're acting white." I remember when in college, when I came here,
Yeah.
and I decided that, man, I'm going to go all out
Hmm.
for my academics, because prior to starting college here in the States, I wasn't considered a smart student. I was average or below average. And when I got here and realized I had potential that I didn't know I had, right? And even some of my peers started to say, man, you're an overachiever.
Uh,
Man, that was like fuel. That makes me want to go harder. So it gives me that motivation, because at that point I wasn't in the mindset of proving to anyone. I was proving to myself, because I had disappointed myself prior to, because I didn't do so well. And when I found out, man, oh, I can do this, man, I'm gonna do it and do it like like man, I asked it, man, I started to I study more than everybody else.
mhm,
And because I said, if I can do this now at this age, because I got here when I was an adult, so it's one thing, even our peers sometimes will want to tell us that, man, why are you doing that? So we have to overcome some of those,
stereotype.
limiting stereotypes.
Yeah,
That's it.
stereotypes. Mhm. I
Yeah.
mean, we all, I think we all dealt with that, from our childhood, that negativity,
Yeah.
That self doubt, us as black men, that self, I know for me, I did a lot of that self demoralizing myself to fit in with the white community. So I had to change my mindset. I had to change my heart to understand that I am somebody. I can do this. I can, whatever I set my mind to, no matter what nobody else says, I can do this. Because I was that kid, that was a junior going into his senior year, going to his counselor's office, and his counselor says to him, I said, I want to go back home in Mississippi State and play football. And my counselor said to me, really? Well, you can go to junior college. And neither one of my parents went to college. And
Wow.
so I said, junior college, what is that? I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. I had no idea. SAT, ACT, I took those. It was all good. But the fact of the matter that my white counselor told me that I was not good enough to go to Division I school to go to a junior college first. After I got to college, I finally figured out all that out because I had no one in my family had an idea about what college was. And so I ended up going D1. But after I got there, I'm like, oh, the limitation was put on me because I was a black male to
Correct.
junior college first. That was their expectations that black male athletes would go to junior college route first before they went to the Division One. You go 2 years, get your 2 years in junior college, then go to Division One. That didn't happen for me. So I
Man,
bucked the trend of going D1 without going to junior college first because of my counselor.
man, and that's right. You know, the wrong people put limits on us.
Hmm.
As I recently spoke to one of my professors from college when I was just starting my master's, and he told me, Dr. Ross told me, man, I think you are demonstrating the qualities to go and do your doctoral degree,
Hmm.
man. Even when he told me that, I didn't believe him
Yeah.
because I still had, even though I was doing well, I still had the limitations on myself
Yep.
because
Self-doubt.
what you have heard, self doubt,
Hmm.
because we take on the belief of other people
Hmm.
about ourselves.
Hmm.
And as black men, we know are in the position to, make sure the next generation don't take on those same limiting beliefs by constantly, being wherever we can, having these conversations, to let remind them that look, it doesn't matter what you want. If you really want it and you put your mind to it,
Go get it.
you can do it. And there are things that I've accomplished that, like looking back, sometimes
Mhm.
reflecting, I have to be wondering if is it the same Richard Cross, from a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
because when you overcome those limiting beliefs, man, it's so empowering. Even to even some of your peers still can't understand how did you, just as how they want to tell you that, oh man, you need to go to junior college maybe, or you're not smart enough for D1. And
Hmm.
when you get to D1, you realize, man, look, man, these people who are here, they're not even matching up to me.
Oh,
you know
brother.
it,
I
it,
got
it,
in there. I got in there. And not only did I start my freshman year, I graduated in 4 years.
wow,
So that was that was to me, it was like, I can do this.
man,
These people aren't better than me.
that's
And
right.
so your confidence begins to grow the more milestones that you knock down. And so we all can do it. We have that bandwidth, we have that knowledge base already there instilled in us. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
putting it out and making it happen.
And being that way on this thing about what we can do, my next question, which is on role models, right?
Mhm.
Why is it important? Which I think you have said it already. We may have said it in the conversation so far. But
Mhm.
why is it important for Black men to actively mentor the next generation?
I like Dr. Sims made a great point there. Uh,
Uh, I,
comment
uh,
section. That last one, I think it's the last one. The
oh,
perceptions, yes, about the perceptions.
oh,
It's a
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Andre, there is a ton of research on
Mhm.
perceptions of what black males can achieve. It's one of the many reasons black boys don't do as well as we know they can do in schools. Our opportunities to show our brilliance are severely blocked. Man,
Mhm.
that is so powerful.
Mhm.
And as I said earlier in the conversation, I definitely will have to connect with, well, not connect, reconnect
Mhm.
with Dr. Sims, because as next series coming up on legacy builders, those are things that
Mhm.
we need to remind ourselves
Mhm.
and the next generation that the perceptions, what they have said, we can defy those odds. We can do things beyond what they have said or created, or whatever social conditioning have been happening. We can, and we have proof, because we're here and we have so many
Right.
individuals. I tell you, when I started even my doctoral journey, and I was researching, and we're going to go back to the question
Mhm.
in a minute. Man, I was so surprised the amount of black men with PhDs. I was like, and black men in leadership roles,
Mhm.
but we don't see them. We don't know them. If you don't go and search
Mhm.
for these black men,
Mhm.
you don't know they exist.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll be wondering, is it intentional for these black men not to be seen? But and that was one of the reasons, for the black male impact, because I want to talk to all those black men who have
Mhm.
defied the odds,
Yes.
achieved their goals, and let's share that knowledge, that experience, and how did you do it, so other people, other young people, will find a way, even to believe
Mhm.
that they can do it. But let's get back to the question about the importance of actively mentoring the next generation.
We have to. It's vital that we get down at the grassroots and start with the young men early on. I know gaining them when they get to high school or middle school is good, but I think the data shows that getting them early is probably the most will make the most impact at that grade school level. I think Mr. Rockefeller was the one who really started the K through 12, but he started it more for to get workers. It wasn't to truly educate them. He started it to get more workers to come work for him, not to go out and be entrepreneurs and think for themselves. To be critical thinkers. Uh,
Correct.
but I think we know what to do, and I think this is one of those pieces in a big, huge puzzle of all of us who have the knowledge to be able to take what we know and understand and who we are to go out and build this solid foundation of next generation of leaders that we need within our black communities for these black males.
Man, that is so true. And as Dr. Sims just stated, it's hard to be what you can't see, and that's why we have to be there, mentor them, and that's why it's also really important to actively mentor the next generation. They need to see. I just went to the college that I graduated from,
Hmm.
which I was working recently, and a couple of the students came up to me and said, "Sir, man, why are you not here? We miss you," and stuff like that. And it's not just because this is how I normally show up for my students, and I
Hmm.
realize it have an impact on the students. Because some don't see people, they may see other leaders on campus, who dress professionally, but sometimes, you go up to these students and talk to them just genuinely. They can feel the difference. And
Yeah.
I just had some conversation with some of those students and said, "Sir, you need to come back to visit us before school go on break." But it just give you that feeling, that they value what you have to say,
Hmm.
especially when they know you care
Hmm.
about them. I think it's important that we do.
And that's the key
So,
thing. If you can go, we can go and and look nice and do all the different things in the communities. But if they know within their hearts that we don't care about them, we're gonna lose them right away. So that's that authentic piece, going in, being authentic,
yeah.
because kids are able to sense that.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
he's
Oh yeah.
not real. She's not real. I don't want
Oh
to
yeah.
talk to. I don't want to be around him. So
Oh
you
yeah.
don't want to turn them off. You want to make sure you're truly, truly authentic when you're talking to these young men and women because they truly can tell.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I tell you, they used to ask me sometimes, how do you get these kids to show up, to turn out at events and stuff like that? It's not just the event. It could be the best event.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just to see a student on the way to something else
Hmm.
and tell them that, man, I want you to come here, and this is the reason why I want you to show up.
Hmm.
And they stop what they're doing and come and show up. And as Dr. Sim say, he's sharing his final comment. I'm going to bring it up on the screen
Yes.
right now. Final comment: it's not what they call you, it's
Hmm.
what you answer to.
For two.
When we are centered on who we are, as you mentioned earlier, it's easier to navigate the microaggression that are in a reality in our a reality in our everyday lives.
Hmm.
So what it goes back to what you said earlier. Once we know who we are, whatever
Yes.
they say to minimize our ability or
Hmm.
what we're capable of doing, we'll just run off our backs like water. In knowing who we are is really, really important
Hmm.
as we navigate this journey, because we're going to come across people who want to doubt us,
Yeah.
who want to limit us, and who want to tell us what we can't do.
Hmm.
But I've passed that stage a whole long time ago. I just want you to tell me. Even if I
Yes.
wasn't thinking about doing it, I may find a way to do it.
Yes.
It's because it's to get to the point where you know yourself, and
Yes.
it's not the limitations people want to put on us, because they don't know what we are capable of. We don't even know what we're capable of. We're capable of so much more. So it's just on us to make sure we don't listen to the naysayers or the doubters.
Yes.
So I just want to ask one more question in the section of role models. How can we encourage other Black men to see themselves as role models? Well, you know what? The comment just a while ago kind of answered this
Yeah.
question. How can we encourage other Black men to see themselves as role models regardless of their position or title?
I think Dr. Sims answered that quite clearly
That's right.
and distinctly for us. We have to know who we are. It's not. It's not a in my mind only. It's got to be in that heart and that gut. So when you face those challenges that you know and we know that they're going to be facing every single day, it does not matter. There's always going to be someone who's going to challenge you,
Oh,
challenge
yeah.
your knowledge, challenge who you are, challenge where you're at, challenge everything about you, no matter how many degrees, no matter how many certifications, no how much education, no how many, experience you have, they will always challenge you because they want to degrade you to the point where you just feel like you're nobody. And
Correct.
who's the strongest person within our community? Us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, as you mentioned that, some of the challenges that are the maybe unfair situations, right,
Hmm. Hmm.
have turned out to be like in my favor. And if people really look at it, some of these, because it's when you know who you are, unfair situation don't really stop you. It empowers you because no, I'm going to prove not to say, oh, I don't want to say prove to you.
Hmm.
But part of it is to say, "Hey, look, you may doubt me,
Yeah.
but that's just your opinion,"
Hmm.
and that's where it comes when we as Black men, know who we are. The challenges or the unfair situations or unfavorable
Hmm.
situations can easily turn around to be in our favor.
Yes.
It may throw you off a little bit because you'll be wondering, man, what did I do to experience this? But
Hmm.
it's not what we do to experience it. And the more I read about some of these Black successful men, it's not that they didn't experience opposition, they did, but they use it as fuel because one, they knew what they wanted before the opposition.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, the opposition want to stop us because of the impact that we can make. And sometimes, I don't really like to say this, but the devil may use some people to try to stop you because they know the impact you're going to make. So it is just important as you go back to just knowing who we are
Yes.
and the source that we connect to, and how important it is, when we are moving forward to make a difference. Um, but I want to ask on just a question on positive self-image, because as Black men, it's important, how we show up, and not just how we not just dress, but just self-image. Not let the stigmas
Hmm.
determine who we become and what we do. What practices can help Black men maintain a positive self-image despite societal challenges?
Attire is a is an important feature to all of that, because I knew and I know in sports, when I played with the Eagles, even to this day, you look good, you feel good, you play good. There's not a person when us black men, we already bring character and that charisma to anything and everything that we do. When we walk into a facility, guess who they look at first?
Oh
They look
yeah.
at,
Oh yeah.
my goodness, that suit's
Oh yeah.
nice. You might have
Oh,
got it you might have got it at the Goodwill store. They
they
don't know
don't
that.
know.
But guess
They
what?
don't know.
When we put on our threads, is what we call it. We put
Yep.
on the threads and we walk in there confidently with our head held high, looking apart, knowing that we got the knowledge base to be able to speak it and feel it and know it. They can't touch us. And
Yep.
that's what makes them mad. It frustrates them to the utmost that no matter what they do, what they throw at us, especially me in the IT world, there's not a lot of black men in high positions in the IT world. They hate
Yeah.
it, can't stand
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah, man. It really, give a different feeling. You just, I know because sometimes I just show up in some places, just show up in these places. I just know the reaction, man. But I just do it because some people is gonna be looking, and man. But it really send that powerful message.
Hmm.
And that's why when I was on campus, I used to have the young men dress in suits at times, and just be parading across different places on campus, because it just send a positive message, just
Yeah.
send a strong message.
Yes.
And it reminds them that they too can have that impact, that effect on their community and the people and even their peers, because once their peers see them looking differently, different from the norm, they may want to be doing the same thing. So
Yes.
that's important. So how can we help other Black men recognize and celebrate their own greatness?
Again, it's us connecting on an intellectual level, to be able to share knowledge with one another, to piggyback off one another. I don't think personally, like you said earlier, you didn't realize there was so many doctors, black, with PhDs out there. It's just didn't realize there were this many black men in the country that I didn't know about. You know,
Yep.
I just knew I would know about all these black men that were educated in this world. What do we
Yep.
have that database at to be able to connect with all these black men to say, hey, I see you. I
Yep.
love you. You are a king. You are important. You are loved. You are valued. I need you. I need your knowledge base. I need to connect a USB to your brain, to my brain to your brain, to each other's brain, and download to help
Yep.
each other, to help our communities to grow and to become better.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, man. Man. I be writing every day, right? So these conversations are really beneficial to me. I don't have to go directly to a book to
Yes.
get some of the knowledge, because once I'm having conversation, man, the amount of books I feel I've interviewed over more than 100 Black men who are out there doing great
Yes.
work,
Yes.
and the amount of knowledge I gain, man, I don't have to go to a book. I just turn to one of these pages and to remind myself, something that may spark something in me to share with the public, because
Yes.
I'm not going to know everything, but you're
No.
going to share something with me that I can benefit me. But I know because it benefit me,
Mhm.
it will benefit others. So having these conversations is really good, and to believe that we um, have the capabilities
Yes.
to do the work, because that part is important. It's not just that we are innately capable of doing the work or achieving great things. It's important that we believe that we can do it. We are already at the top of the hour.
Ooh, thank
So we are, man, it's been going. We still haven't completed all the questions, but we may not be able to complete all the questions today, but I can guarantee you this is not our final conversation. We'll definitely be having more conversation in the future
you.
about Black men and what we can do to make a difference, and how important for us to have these conversations. But before we go today, I want to ask. Well, before I ask my final question, where can the listeners find and support you and the work that you're doing, and they can connect with you on these various social media platforms? Where can they find you and support your work?
I am on www.crossroadmoments.com. My phone number is 515-202-5664. You can contribute, financially. I love, connecting with all the different brotherhoods to, go and have conversations, these type of conversations. This is just, I thrive on the information now. I look at myself. I get in the door because everyone wants to talk about football all the time. To talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and Bobby Taylor and all the guys, the greats. Corey Dawkins that I played with in Philly. They want to talk about all that, but at the same time, I utilize that to have those conversations. To talk about what it is and what it took for me to be where I am in this thing called life. I didn't do everything right, but at the same time, I took that challenge to be able to educate myself. But at the same time, I knew that there was a high power leading me in this thing called life, and to be where I am, to be able to help the next brotherhood to be able to come and be the great leader in this world.
Man, thank you. So those who are listening, and for those who may listen later, you can connect with Mr. Allen at the information that he just provided. I can tell you, you will not be disappointed. But I know Dr. Sims says, he said, sorry, he just made another comment. Just to acknowledge, this is such a great conversation. And Andre is dropping wise nuggets that have to comment, that he have to comment again. So when, well, he just, he said to drop the, in the chat. That's W. Are you able to put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let's see.
Yeah, you can drop the. Um, yeah, but he was just sharing this thing right here. When you know who you are, your presence speaks for you, regardless of what you have on. Oh yeah, man. When you know yourself, man, yes, your presence will definitely speak, for you, and the confidence will also always be displayed. Once you know who you are, man, it gives a different level of confidence. Um, once you show up. But before we close today, I just want to ask this final question. All right. What is the most impactful way to encourage young men to believe in their potential? Are you still?
Well, again, that starts at home. and not a lot of our young men are getting that feedback from that home base. And so it's imperative that we reach them at a young age, because there's nothing like a damaged man going into the world to be a adolescent. I wish I would have had that influence of that wherewithal to be able to reach out to brothers in the corporate world, in the just in the communities, to help build that self-esteem, that self-stamina that we need, because we don't know who we are. They're trying to erase our history. They're trying to do all these different things now. Currently, erase the DOE, which impacts the Pell Grants and the different things that go. Get an extended education outside of high school. They're trying to do all those things, and so it's going to be even more so imperative that we are vigilant in our approach into getting into the communities and these schools and these colleges, and helping these young men and letting them know there is hope. You can make it and you will make it. And we're here to help you any way possible that we can.
Man, that is important. Um, I know we're at the end of the conversation. I think we could go on and go on with this conversation. I'm really enjoying the conversation today, as all the other conversations. But this is just having this flow, and the engagement and the interaction in the comments even make it even more special. Mr. Allen, Andre Allen, man, it's a pleasure, having you
Appreciate
here today on the Black Male Impact. And for those who have been here participating and listening to us, I
you.
really, really, really appreciate it. Thanks to all the listeners,
Hmm.
and the Black Male Impact is where positive changes are inspired.
Yep.
Please continue to support us as we continue to bring guests that we believe will share knowledge, insights, and perspective that we all can use on our journey to be the best that we can be and to make a difference in the world. We are all here to be servants and to serve others and to make a difference. And so let's continue to do so. And again, thanks for being here with us. And please, please support the Black Male Impact as we continue on this journey.
Let's get to work, fellas.
That's right.